Hello, everyone. Welcome to Silver Tears Tarot, and welcome, of course, to everyone who is new. Today, we're looking into the question that I got, and I got it in numerous forms, was kind of what is it that's keeping me here? I understand that there are lessons that have to be learned. Understand that there's a bond that is not going away, even though it seems like the communication has really faltered. So, what is it that's holding me to this? What is it that is keeping me in this situation? And so that's what we're going to look into today. Of course, we're going to start out by taking a look at the relationship itself and just kind of the energy that's flowing between the two of you. It will be a general reading for this collective, as always. So, it won't resonate with everybody, and it really shouldn't resonate with everyone. However, if it does resonate with you, maybe take a look at some of the other messages. Maybe think about subscribing. So we'll start here. I think we're going to use this as the main deck. We'll clarify with that one. So we're going to start out by looking at, this is going to be the energy that's flowing between the two of you. And you know how I often will get that energetic and emotional backdrop as we start out the reading? I want that energetic and emotional backdrop energy to go ahead and shine through into this portion of the reading as well. So we have a Six of Pentacles. Focus on interaction between people and the equality that happens between you. So there's been a history of inequality in the actions and the energetic exchange between the two of you in the past. And there's a little bit of a focus on it. It feels like this is a place where maybe there's some awareness that it's not always been quite equal, but not quite knowing what to do about it. And with this King of Swords in the reverse, it's also a tendency to not want to focus on it very much. It comes out in a couple of ways. That can come out in wanting to just sort of gloss over it and allow things to pass. So this might be something that that one or both of you is allowing to happen, where you know that there have been things that were not quite equal, not quite right in the past, but you'd be willing to let some of those things go. But it's a little bit at odds. So I feel like that is a little bit at odds with this Eight of Pentacles feeling, where this is an increasing amount of awareness. This is in it. We see the awareness. What we don't necessarily see a tendency to want to pull all the information together, because it would require like having to admit some things to oneself. And this could be happening for both of you, actually. I feel a little bit of that happening for both of you. But this Eight of Pentacles, it's about awareness. It's about growth. It's about emotional mastery, emotional self-mastery. But it's something that you have worked on during the course of this relationship. And actually, when I look at it with your person, because this is a shared energy, when I look at the part of this that's kind of coming out for your person, I see that increased emotional self-mastery, but I see them being incredibly aware of it. But with the King of Swords in the reverse, it's still like, well, they know that there are some things that have changed here in their own awareness. They're aware that things haven't always gone right with you, but sometimes putting those things together and looking at it makes things feel like it's too much their fault. They're very much still kind of working through that piece. Okay, so we have the Page of Crystals, which is about openness to lessons more than anything else. And the World card in the reverse talking about something that's not quite over, something that has more details. More has to happen with this situation in order to fulfill the whole event. The World is talking about something that's not yet resolved. And so this is energy between the two of you that's not yet resolved, but this time there's greater amounts of awareness. There is some process of getting right with things that's happening, even though it feels like, at least in your person's case, they're not super far down that path. So there's still a lot of denial in their own mind. And that is very real. The denial is very real. So when they look at situations and say, I'm aware that things didn't necessarily go evenly, or they didn't feel like the energy was going back and forth equally, there was more communication, more commitment maybe from your side. But the thing is, they're having a hard time recognizing that, but they are recognizing that. They are in the process of recognizing it. And this page of crystals says that that lesson continues. It's very much an ongoing sort of feeling. And this world sort of, it suggests that also that there's more to be done here. But what really gets me is this Knight of Feathers, because this is actually a willingness to move forward. So I know some of you, when you wrote in and you were talking about, hey, what is it that's keeping me here? It was because you were also in the process of telling me that you don't want to stay here. You'd rather be able to walk away. What are these lessons so that I can figure out what they are and so that I can move on? And what we're seeing here is sort of a recognition that these lessons are there, a recognition of the process that's happening, but a feeling that their energy needs to come back toward yours to resolve some things. I get that with the World card. And with the Knight of Feathers, I see them like trying this on, trying the idea on for size, you know. Five of Feathers says they're talking themselves into it, or at the very least talking themselves out of having coming to you for the wrong reasons. But with the Five of Crystals, I still see a fair amount, I guess, of the big three lingering with them. This is very much focused on them. You might both have that fear of betrayal, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. Those are the big three. But this feels like their side of it. This really feels like their side of it is kind of holding them back. They're afraid they're going to be rejected for something that they want to do here. It's a communication they want to make to you. But I don't necessarily get the sense that they know exactly how they're going to do that. So they know they want to talk to you. They feel like they're coming with something that isn't very believable as far as a reason to come together. But with this Five of Feathers, it reminds me a little bit of this Eight of Pentacles. You know, it's got that emotional self-mastery. It's like, it very much reminds me that the person that you're dealing with now is not the same person that you've been dealing with. Yeah, there's a tendency for them to actually be able to want to and be able to jump. So we've seen a lot of back and forth energy happening with them lately, where they are very resistant to you while at the same time feeling very magnetized to you. And sometimes we see those two things kind of cycle. And depending on what's cycling at different times, you may get super high resistance along with a super high desire to reach out. And then it's very unclear as to what's going to happen next. Here, though, I'm not going to say there isn't still that sense of resistance, especially up here where I was seeing that with the King of Swords in reverse. Like, there is certain knowledge they seem to be holding at bay, so that they're holding it off. And that constitutes resistance. That counts as resistance. But with the Traveler here, this seems like this is communication from a lot of people. Or for a lot of you, what that means is communication, but it isn't just that. It's also, hey, can we go to lunch and talk about some things? So it's a promise of some kind of further communication, where in the past we've seen a lot of not necessarily, I guess, you know, not necessarily that they wouldn't communicate. I mean, we would see some people come in and communicate. In fact, some people who had not spoken for quite some time, we were seeing those communications. But it was really a matter of the nature of it, and do they block you right away afterwards? Okay, so looking at this, okay, so we only want this Ace of Crystals, but we do want this Ace of Crystals. So if you're a little bit suspicious when I say that this Traveler card, which is like the Fool card, seems like communication is coming, that's observant on your side. So yes, it does feel like communication is coming, but if you're a little bit resistant or you're a little surprised by that yourself, first of all, this is a question of what you're manifesting, what they're manifesting, and what comes from that. Because you've got free will, you've got manifestation, and sometimes they're not the same thing. There's also, like, you're right to be a little bit suspicious of this, because I don't see them being ready to truly make much good of communication just yet, even though I see a lot of energy moving in that direction. Okay, we've got something else coming out here. Four of Shells. Disappointment in themselves. So, okay, they slipped the clutch. There's something here that, like they're changing regardless of how they feel about it. They are changing. They're aware of some new things. They are less resistant to certain concepts than they've ever been before, as a result of the learning they've been doing. And their awareness around this learning is pretty considerable. So they're still undergoing a transformation despite the fact that they're having a really hard time communicating. This Ace of Crystals is that energy that shuts down that communication, or at least doesn't let it get anywhere. This Traveler card speaks pretty loudly, though. I really feel like there are going to be a few of you who are able to move past the difficulty of this Ace of Crystals, because it's not as strong of a feeling as the Traveler. Four of Shells says they're going to be disappointed by themselves, though, or disappointed in what they do. They're going to be disappointed in their own behavior. So, you know, we've seen the readings that talk about like a botched delivery of a message. Here's one where they don't necessarily botch the delivery of the message as badly as they think they do, but they really sort of think they do. And yet they go on, they feel like they've, you know, slammed this door closed. You may not even perceive it that way. So be aware, they're seeing this come off far worse than you are. So in the way that I'm seeing this here, communication happens. They think they mess it up, so they run away. But on some level, the transformation on their side is being kicked off anyway. So the transformation that would be that you're in the middle of, that's already happening. This Nine of Acorns, though, so that's lower resistance. That's them being able to say when they start to overthink something, wait, I see what I'm doing, you know. That's really kind of, so this energy between the two of you, this is pretty intense. And there is, no wonder you're feeling extra, sorry about the noise there. No wonder you're feeling extra frustrated about things there, because this is a sense of, and I'm kind of cleaning up my mess that I just made over here because I didn't want to have to stop the video. But this is a little bit frustrating. When I look at this, it's like the timing, like they have constantly been wanting to move in your direction. They've constantly been almost implying that there was like a communication that needed to happen here. But they've been remiss in that actual communication. And so what I'm seeing here is that they do try to initiate it, but it doesn't go especially well. And it's almost got this sense of too little, too late for you. It's got a sense of too little, too late, but it's not really, because you're still very much connected in the bonds that you still have to make. This World card in the reverse feels really strong. Let's jump into a little bit more that like what you would need to know about the relationship and what is keeping you here. I am tempted to do what is keeping you here along with what you need to do about it, but I think I want to keep those two separate, and we'll just kind of see how it comes out. So we've got the nine of Cups in the reverse. You are here becoming more familiar with what's important to you, what makes up the inner workings of yourself. You know, you've got the Chariot card in the reverse, which feels a little bit unusual as far as the Chariot card goes. So a lot of times the Chariot is about you and activity or action that comes from within you. This feels like it's almost acting upon you. You are being forced to sit in a place where you're able to see some things about yourself, but you're not able to do very much. And you may even be feeling like you can't do very much, almost like your hands are tied with the situation. So and I get that. I get that from a lot of your communications. You're in a place where you're not especially happy. You're able to see what is different between where you are now and where you would ultimately like to be. There's not necessarily a lot of movement forward, and something definitely feels like it's holding some of you back, maybe even be holding some of you back from other things that you ordinarily would find pretty exciting. And some of that is about like your person. So crazy example, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Okay. When my person disappeared, I couldn't handle anything Star Wars for quite some time. And it felt like it took a little bit out of me every time I saw anything like that. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's almost like something that works against you in your own psyche. Now we have this Nine of Wands in the reverse. That's the piece where you're almost done with this, and you can kind of sense the freedom very close, which makes you ask the question, wait a minute, why am I still here? I already know what I don't like. I've seen the triggers that have occurred in my daily life and the things that are kind of holding me back. But the fact that you're able to say that and to see all of that is probably the most important thing that's happening here. So let's get into this a little bit more, because what I'm getting out of this is that you're a little bit farther along, I think, than your person is on this same path, but B, I think you're a little bit farther along than maybe even what you realize, and you may be holding yourself back a little bit with this chariot energy and this realization like you figured some things out. But watch very closely to that inner talk. So there's self-talk that's going to happen that'll seem more positive, there's some that's going to seem more negative, and then there's going to be that like inner know-it-all that tells you what is happening. Be prepared to question the inner know-it-all and just say, is that really the truth? Is that just something that I'm used to thinking? Is that a habit of thought, or is it something that's very that's definitely true? And that, I feel like that's the message here. That one of the reasons that you're kind of being kept in this is there's something that you are not seeing, but you've been exposed to it, but you're looking past it because you're so used to seeing it. You're not catching something that's different. Queen of Feathers says basically that same message. Observe carefully before moving past something. So it's like those things where you read it and they say, I'll bet you don't realize you're reading this wrong, and you go back and you read it again and it's got like some word is repeated. It's that sort of thing. Go back and double check, maybe read the words backwards and make sure that you don't see something. It's the anomalies will start to pop out there. So we have the wheel in the reverse. This is actually what I'm used to feeling with, what I felt with the chariot in reverse is what I'm kind of feeling like with the wheel in reverse here. That's that feeling of being held in a position to kind of have to just, it's like being held in your own suffering, but really it's being held in, no, look at this. Like you're being forced by the universe to look at this situation one more time. No, keep looking from this angle. There's something that you're missing. It feels infuriating. But there's something here that is going to change it all for you. And it seems like the more you force yourself to stare at this, the more damage you're doing. And it turns out it's not really going to be that way. There is going to be a moment. So I remember one time when I was early on reading tarot, somebody said to me, there are good towers and there are bad towers. And I remember thinking, it's always going to be that perception though, right? So things are more, you'll get more of the experience if you're able to see it from a neutral standpoint rather than, hey, this is negative or this is positive. So I don't know if it's exactly good tower or bad tower, but this is a cathartic tower. This is one that, because you've been kind of held in this same place for a little while, recognizing it, and it's going to happen because something beautiful comes to you. Okay, so you've got this 10 of shells, which is basically the concept of happiness. It's basically you having what you want presented to you, and now you get to figure out what you're going to do about it, which is again one of the concepts that has been very prevalent in these readings with this relationship. You're going to be presented with something amazing. Could be your person coming back wanting to have a conversation. We definitely see that. Could be something different, but it's going to be a strong realization after which nothing is ever really the same. It does feel like it resolves some things for you. And okay, so we've got the 3 of Feathers, which is like the 3 of Swords in reverse, so it's air energy, and the 6 of Crystals, which is like that 6 of Pentacles that we see over there. Only what we have here is a really good realization. This is you now having a very good read on where you're being treated equally and where you're not. And you no longer are taking it personally. So this 3 of Feathers is a card of forgiveness. It's not just unbreaking your heart, which definitely I feel like that happens along with this tower. Suddenly you're not upset about something the way that you might have been before. But with that 6 of Crystals, there's also a sense of you're legitimately changing as a result of this, and it's not going to be uncomfortable for anybody unless it is somebody who's looking to treat you less than. Those people will feel less comfortable, but it will almost, I get the sense like it almost takes care of itself. Like your presence makes people feel like they should be respecting you differently in a relationship because of the way that you carry yourself after these learnings that you're making. And this is part of what is galvanizing you into this new, into this different person. So right now you're working with, you don't have as much of the balance and togetherness as you would like to have with the Temperance card. This is a card of balance. It's a card of being in harmony with your surroundings. You are somebody who has become very adept at handling things when everything isn't perfect. So we have the Awakening card here, which is like Judgment, and we have the Temperance card, which is, of course, the Temperance card in the traditional tarot. But you're working without that sense of balance, and you're learning to be pretty fluent in the situation even without it. This is why. So this is, and this is where it ends. King of Crystals is very much the sense of being confident in yourself. You bring your own thunder. You bring your own abilities, your own capabilities. This is a very confident, swaggering sort of King of Crystals energy, and it's not cocky. It's not swaggering inappropriately. Like, this is energy of someone who earned it and knows that they've earned it. Like, it's a beautiful kind of energy. Let's get into, because I think I want to ease into now what you are advised to do, because you're in this place where you're kind of being held there. It is acknowledging that this is an uncomfortable place for you. You're being held in this place, but it's all going to culminate in this very, I want to call it a positive tower. I want to call it a good tower. It is something that feels like a good tower from your perspective. When we get into the extended, maybe we look a little bit more at that good tower. Maybe we also look a little bit more at the nature of this communication or what's coming from this person, because that's what's in the current energy. We know we got a new moon coming up tomorrow, new moon coming up in Scorpio. This is all about opening a door that's previously been closed to you. That's what this moon feels like to me. That's what it looks like. It's super easy for me to kind of encapsulate it in that. And I know it's a new moon, and you could say that about almost any new moon, except for this one feels very strongly like that. It's opening up opportunities, doors that have previously been closed to you. And with all of the communication that, or all of the messages that we've been seeing about opportunities, I'm interested to see kind of what that means. So this is about that. This is about, what does that opportunity look like? What does it mean for you? Then we're also going to look into your tower. And how awesome is it that we get to look into a tower for you that we can already identify as something that is earth-shatteringly good. Especially with a 10 of cups falling next to it, or 10 of water falling next to it. All right, so we're going to start. First, we want to take a look at advice for you, or what you need to be focusing on given what's already on the table. So this will be about your lessons. We've got the 6 of Cups in the reverse. That's about not assuming anything based on what you have dealt with in the past. You're not making assumptions based on what you've dealt with in the past. There is a 9 of Swords here that tells me there's going to be some anxiety. It is basically, I'm not going to say the anxiety doesn't make sense or it's unnecessary, but it's not long term. This is not something that becomes a habit. This is not being sure of yourself, but you keep being this King of Crystals underneath the surface, which, by the way, we've been watching it form. We know that as you move toward the end of this year, and honestly, I've not looked much beyond that, so I don't know what happens after this, but your flame is growing. You are seeing some very positive changes we go toward the end of this year, and hopefully by now you're starting to feel some of that. And I know everyone's on a little bit different of a timeline, but you've been having this rosy, beautiful energy. I'm curious to see what this tower is going to talk about, and also very curious about this opportunity. Be aware, though, there are going to be times in here where you realize, yes, I'm this King of Crystals energy, and you could be any gender. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of this is masculine energy because it's got that king on it. The Queen of Crystals has a similarly, they're very earthy. Those are King and Queen of Earth. And ultimately together they are very solid, physical, nurturing, solid, providing sort of energy. And this is that king side of it. This is the I've got this, so everyone has some element of that. That's in your foundation. But you are still going to see some anxiety that will quickly be dispelled by you sort of, you'll be able to talk your way past that. Your recommendation there, your advice is to go ahead and employ what's missing in this King of Swords energy over here. Let yourself see the logic and let yourself talk yourself quickly out of the anxiety that wants to pop up for you. Nothing from your past dictates anything from your future. The limits have all been removed, and your intention here should be to allow those limits to remain gone. Ace of Acorns says you've got something to be passionate about. So we've seen just a ton of this card. Ace of Acorns is fire energy, so it's Ace of Wands, it's Ace of Fire, it's that one of fire. It's the one that we keep seeing coming up, and it's about the thing that's going to set your soul on fire. It's also, though, it's like you're getting into this, and I've already started to hear examples of it. People getting invitations to things, they're like, why am I getting this? And then they recognize this is the thing. This is the thing Silver told me about. Go. It's going to be something that if you're not meeting the soulmate, you're setting yourself up for it. Basically, there's something about an opportunity that comes in for you. Now we know there's an opportunity over here. I know that you have multiples, but there's something here that wants to really come up. It's that Ace of Acorns, and then you've got the Two of Crystals. Okay, so Two of Crystals is about finding day-to-day balance. So it's not necessarily everything levels out in your life, but you're able to find or benefit from some day-to-day balance with that Two of Crystals energy that is, I don't know, it's just really, it's got a good, strong, and solid sort of feeling to it. And let's see here. This is supposed to be this way. This comes out this way. Yeah. So you'll have some doubts. We have that Nine of Feathers that's coming out here again. This is like the Nine of Swords that we see up there. So there's definitely a little bit of fear. There's definitely something for you to be thinking about, for you to be working through. This Hermit card, though, this Hermit energy says that you're going to be able to do that. You're pulling the wisdom to yourself that's going to help you talk yourself out of the anxiety. Just got to let yourself be heard. Let yourself do the act of the cognitive therapy, talking yourself out of it. We've got the Love card in the reverse. This is where something comes up as an opportunity with this person for a lot of you, but you don't feel like you can take it. And then we've got the King of Acorns, King of Fire. So this is a real passionate energy. That is, regardless of what you're being surrounded by, that's energy of passion. With the Ace of Feathers here, this is something that we've been waiting for. And this is something that you're being encouraged to focus on. There's a clarity in this passion. There is a certain simplicity that emerges when you're not able to move forward with something in your situation. That's what I see here, but you're still working through it with this Nine of Feathers, Nine of Swords energy. You're still kind of trending toward that anxiety and then having to talk yourself out of it. But with this Ace of Feathers, you are being able to incorporate new truths, and that's where some of this anxiety is coming from. You're actually coupling the new truths with what you see coming in as opportunities, and you're allowing yourself to be scared. This is something that you're able then to work through fairly quickly, but it does, the fear is there, but so is the truth. This Ace of Feathers, we've seen this one come out. That's like a Ace of Swords. So we've seen it come out in pretty much every reading here. But what's cool about it is this is you conquering it and getting to a place where you feel a lot more ready. Knight of Crystal says you don't necessarily do it steadily. There may be some element of not necessarily moving forward, and definitely with this King of Shells. So this is integrity and not taking things on that you don't feel prepared for, having emotional limits and being able to identify where those are. But we've also got a Page of Feathers energy, which is it's like a minor arcana Fool coming off of that Page of Feathers. It's very much, I don't know, let's give it a shot and find out. It's kind of got that feel to it. So that you're encouraged to that. That's something that I would say everything over here is where you're supposed to be focusing given what's on this table. So you've got opportunities emerging. You've got anxiety coming from that. It's going to be okay. But you also have that sense of, you know what, I'm ready to try something new. I'm definitely ready to to give something a shot. But it also, it comes and it goes. So be prepared for that. Be very gentle with yourself. We do have that feeling of forgiveness that wants to kind of come through in this energy. I would say to allow that to pervade, and remember that forgiveness is not just being okay with whatever happened, whether it's you that did it or someone else that's perpetuated something that you feel like it created pain and requires forgiveness. It's about identifying or understanding and being able to accept who they were at that time, rather than being okay with whatever they did, whatever you or they did. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go into the extended. We're going to take this Tower card and we're going to go into this specifically and just kind of understand what's happening with it. We're also going to look at this 10 of Cups. I think we'll take those out and single them out specifically. Then over here, let's understand kind of what's happening with the Fool card and the Transformation card. So, you know, sometimes if you go to the extended often, you know that sometimes I will pull specific cards out of the reading, and that's what we'll look at. That's what we're going to do this time around. So the transformation that your person is going through, the opportunity that is existing between the two of you, and then the Tower that's happening for you, as well as that 10 of Shells, which kind of feels like maybe I should put it next to this opportunity over here, although I think they reflect off of one another and are not necessarily encapsulated within. I don't know that they're the same thing, so we'll see. So that's what we're going to do when we get into the extended. I thank you very much for being here with me for that. If you want to go to the extended, then the link is down below this video in the description, and you can go there. Otherwise, I will see you again in tomorrow's reading.